Hi folks, Joe Snedeker here at Lackawanna State Park. Come on, isn't this beautiful? Thanks for joining us for Cloud to Ground. And if you're wondering why I'm standing here in spandex with my bike, come on, Gojo 29, getting ready, getting prepared, starts in just a couple of days. But again, we're welcoming you to this episode. Now, a few days ago, Allie Gallo and I, speaking of the bike ride, sat down, stood up, whatever we did, we talked about past bike rides and the weather from the bike ride's perspective. And Allie has that information. Hit it, girl!
So every week I like to take a look back at the weather. This week in history, big storms, hurricanes, whatever's happening this week.
Whatever's happening, so, and that's why she brought a fossil.
What is happening? This week we're getting ready for Gojo 29, in my opinion, the best week of the year at WNEP. It's my favorite.
Weather-wise? Community-wise?
Community-wise, content-wise, the stories we air, the people we meet.
Injecting ourselves into the people.
I get to fill in for you the entire week, which is the shift I want.
Oh, she's hinting. She wants me to retire so she can take my position already. Yeah, so it's funny how this is my 29th year. And you'll see, when you get older, like they all blend.
Yeah.
I remember biking in horrid, steady rain. I remember biking just days on end where it's just hot and sunny, but a couple memories do pop up. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, first thing you need to know is that climatologically, late July is the warmest time of the year.
So obviously we have to pick that week to do it.
That's when the bike ride takes place. So it's usually hot, it's humid. You know me, I love the heat and humidity. Doesn't bother me. One day, I remember I was biking from Philadelphia all the way back home. I had to do it in one day. It was like 137 miles, and that was scorching hot. I also remember biking in Washington, D.C. when it was over 100. I think it was like 109, 10, biking in that. But a lot of folks don't realize when you're cycling, there's a constant fan of air in front of you. So you constantly have the evaporative cooling, and it's not that bad.
Have you ever had to stop because it was raining so hard?
Yeah, so we had many rainouts over the years, you know, dangerous thunderstorms, just completely stop and then wait it out for 2, 3, 4 hours. That's the struggle, because you're sitting there in spandex looking out the window like, when's it gonna stop? And then we have to interrupt the ride and maybe pick up some miles and rejoin at a different location.
Right.
But a lot of folks don't realize this. The first bike ride I did was in 1998, 97, when I was still part-time here.
Oh.
I was a high school science teacher, and I'm like, I want to do something good for humanity.
Yeah.
I have summers off, and I biked from here to Atlantic City.
Okay.
That was the first bike ride. It was like 2 days, 3 days.
Wow.
Then, this is where I'm confused and clouded, but it was either the second or the third bike ride. Once I became full-time, I actually used something like this. Look at these things.
Well, these are old. Were these the ones you used?
No, but why would I use gloves on a bike ride?
So,
there was one year we went in October.
what?
Check out this picture. This is me in October, gloves, jacket. It was freezing. I went from here to Niagara Falls.
Okay, so was it postponed that year?
I don't know what happened. It was something in the transition of me going from part-time to full-time. I have to look into this more. But it was October, and I remember it being freezing.
Okay, so we're not going to do it in October.
We're starting out in the morning when it's in the 20s and 30s.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was an odd year. That was only a one time.
Did it snow at all? We've had flurries in October.
It did not, but I remember it was periodically cold during that bike ride.
And then, of course, we do Gojo this week because it ends at the telethon, which I'm sure Sister Mary Alice would tell us that the telethon, there's been severe thunderstorms. They're always worried about the weather that week.
Always. Again. I mean, is there ever a week in July where there's no thunderstorms or convection? So I'm always running into that, and it's going to happen again this year. I can almost guarantee you, because it's 5 days long, and you're going to run into that with the humidity high and the sun angle high. But that October one, nuts, isn't it?
I love that. That is so cool.
I know. And my 2 little boys at the time, right? They're barely like 1, 2 years old before my daughter was born. Nuts, nuts, I'm telling you.
Thanks for joining me this week.
Oh, I loved it. So look back, and I forecast this week, it's going to be the bike ride, sunny, hot, with scattered thunderstorms.
That's why they pay you the big bucks.
But no gloves. All right, thanks, Allie. And don't forget to meet up with us next week on Gojo 29, Red, White, and You, and we're going to be all around the area. checking you out and raising money for St. Joe's. Red, white, and you, baby. All right, just made it through a heat wave. Anthony's here with his whiteboard to talk about how heat waves form and what the deal is with the science of these guys. Check it out, Anthony.
Are you sick and tired of hearing about the heat? Well, you're gonna have to hear it at least one more time. All right, we got a whole new edition of Whiteboard Weather now. I got a new camera. I also have new markers, including a yellow marker, and that's gonna make, I think, the production value a little bit higher. If I wanna draw sun, if I wanna draw, I don't know, just the sun, and also a brown marker too, if I wanna draw like a tree or something like that. So let's open it. Okay. I'm just gonna take the yellow one out, and I'm gonna take the brown one, and I'm gonna put it on the little, I don't know what you call it, the little tray that we have here. And we do have a lot of markers, but just in case some things run out, you know, you always have, need to have extra. Now to answer the age-old question, how common are heat waves across Northeast Pennsylvania? And if you don't know what a heat wave is, it changes criteria for different regions, but our criteria in Northeast Pennsylvania is 3 consecutive days of 90 degrees or higher temperatures. This year, we're working on our first and maybe our second by the time that you're watching this, but let's talk about all the years where it happened one time. And as always, I got a handy dandy cheat sheet because I can't memorize all this information. We're gonna go back to the year I was born, 1999. It gives us a good fair sample here across the area. The years that it happened one time: 2019, 2018, 2017, 2014, 2013, 2011, 2008, and 2001. The years where it happened one time. Now let's step it up 2 times. Let's do green for this one. A little bit different, marker. Last year, 2025, happened twice. 2022 happened twice. 2015, twice. 2010, twice. And 2012, twice. And I am bound to make a mistake here, and if I do, I'll correct the record. But let's change it up. Let's do orange, the years that happened 3 times. 2024 happened 3 times. 2021 and 2020 happened 3 times. And that wraps up our 3 times. Nice and rapid fire. Next, what's a hotter color? I'm not sure purple's a hotter color. What about 4 times? That happened in 1999 and no other years. What about 5 times? Let's get crazy, let's get wild. Well, that is actually the record. Since record keeping in early 1900s, the record for heat waves is 5, and that happened in 2005. 5 different heat waves, all at different times, so it wasn't a consistent heat, it was scattered throughout the summer. So that is interesting. And also, I forgot, of course, it happened one time. And 2016, it happened 3 times. So to correct the record. So now we're looking at it, 2003, 2009, 2007, making sure I'm all right, 2004, 2003, 2002, 2000. Hit 90, but never 3 times in a row, and no heat waves for those years. So now you know, it's not guaranteed that we see a heat wave. And in fact, 2004, it didn't even hit 90 one time the entire year. So that's this edition of Whiteboard Weather. See you next week.
All right, thanks, Anthony. All right, hey, here's the deal, folks. Next week on the bike ride, what would be the perfect weather? Like this? Sunny, hot, humid, maybe a little cooler, 70s? I don't know. I'll take it all. I can survive. Coming up next, we have Kurt Aaron and his podcast. So make sure you stay with us. All right, welcome back. I'm Joe Snedeker. Thanks for joining us on Cloud to Ground. Come on, admit it, you'll love it. All right, my dog Jet used to bark at thunderstorms and fireworks. He'd jump up into the sky. He wasn't bothered by them. Many dogs are. So what do, right? Well, Kurt Aaron's here with this podcast to help you handle thunderstorms with your little pets.
Hi, I'm Chief Meteorologist Kurt Aaron. Welcome to Pawcast, where we're going to talk about something maybe you've encountered in the last couple of weeks. Dogs being afraid of sounds like fireworks, and also nature's fireworks, which are thunderstorms. You know, you can see how hot it is right now. We have temperatures in the 90s. We're in the middle of another heat wave this week. And with the heat waves also can bubble up thunderstorms. Now, thunderstorms can be very beneficial because they can do what's known as bringing rain-cooled air. That's cooler air that rushes out ahead of the storm. You can actually feel it as the storm is approaching. But it can also bring very loud claps of thunder. And that can scare dogs. According to the Animal Humane Society, there are steps that you can take to make your dog feel more secure. And we're going to talk about some of those in just a few minutes. But first, what exactly is a thunderstorm? And how does it make the sound of thunder? Well, this is very interesting. For that, we're going to dive into some graphics. Take a look. Anatomy of a thunderstorm, and here we go. Let's get into it. First, we got to talk about lightning. Electrons begin zigzagging downward, known as stepped leaders. That's important. We're going to talk more about that in just a second. As the leader nears the ground, it draws up positive charges. And if you've ever been around an object that's been struck by lightning and you're close to it, you can feel that positive charge. I know for myself, made the hair on my arm stand up when a tree right next to our bedroom got hit by lightning. So you can definitely tell something's going on. Now, the positive charges go upwards. And as they do, that step leader and the streamer merge. And they make a powerful electrical current flow. Here it is. The return stroke of what we see travels at about 60,000 miles a second. Yeah, that's super fast. And this is what it looks like. See that right there? See the flickering? This process is repeated several times along the same path, causing that flickering of light. And get this, all of this happens in less than 1 second. Less than 1 second. Now, the lightning strike heats up the atmosphere and air molecules expand quickly. And as they expand, they collide into one another. And then they cool down right after the lightning strike, and then they slam back into one another. And the air molecules slamming into each other, being heated up to 50,000 degrees by one lightning strike, is how we get thunder. And depending on how close the thunderstorm is to you, depends on how loud that thunder can be. And dogs, especially dogs, can be very afraid of, even cats can, any pets you may have at the house. So, what's some steps to make them feel more comfortable? According to the Animal Humane Society, here's just some steps that you can do. First of all, you got to stay calm. Your dogs can detect stress from you. So if you're anxious or afraid, it's only going to make them worse. Before helping your pup who's maybe running around the house being afraid of the thunder, take a few deep breaths and just calm down. Manage with the mild reactions with comfort. Make a little bed for them so that they know it's a safe place for them to go. Also, try and make it away from windows, doors. You want to try and make it in the center of your house, like a bathroom is a good spot. That safe space should be comfortable enough for the dog to stretch out, stand up, sleep in peace. Also, another good thing you can do, and what I do for my dogs personally, is I play radio, talk radio, and they listen to that. You can play some music in the background, anything besides the thunder that you're hearing from the storm. And if your dog has a severe reaction, I have a son who has a dog who will literally jump in toilets and do everything they can to get away from the sound of thunder. There are oral medications that you can get to make them feel better. And finally, the other thing that I live by, and if you watch me on TV, you know, I say a tired dog is a good dog. We exercise. We just went for a 40-minute walk this morning before work. And as long as it's not too hot outside, we'll try and get another one this evening around 8. But make sure you're exercising your dog, knowing that there's some thunderstorms coming. These simple tips will help your dog get through a thunderstorm. So there you have it. Those are just some of the ways you can comfort your dog. And now you know why we get thunder whenever there's lightning. Very interesting stuff. Now, next week, it's back to science class, and here is our question.
How do you guys learn about the climate change?
That's a great question, and we will answer that next week in science class. For the entire team here at WNEP, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you learned something. Give your pup a hug from us, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks.
Thanks, Kurt. No matter what, my dog, who is a Jack Russell Terrier, is still going to bark at the sky and bite at those thunderstorms. He doesn't care. They're all different. All right, remember Lindsay? She's our producer here at WNEP. She's kind of new. She was once my student at Marywood. We're going to ask her to help us answer your questions in Cloud to Ground Lightning Round next. Alrighty, folks, welcome to another edition of the Lightning Round!
Hey!
And we have Lindsay here, who is my former student at Marywood. Even though you weren't a science major, you took Intro to Meteorology.
Yes.
And how long ago was that?
It had to have been 3 or 4 years ago.
3 or 4 years. So if she doesn't remember this, I get it. But we have to answer the questions, and we're going to use her to help me out. Are you ready? This is from Melissa Newman. Are you nervous?
I'm very nervous.
All right, here we go. Dear Joe, why do some clouds look like they have a flat bottom, as if they were sitting on a glass table and you were looking at them from below? Look at the face. Look at those clouds over there. How perfect for us. They all seem to have a flat bottom and then this fluffy top. Okay. The lightning round wants to know. Look at you can think about this. Go ahead. Look at.
I'll admit I was not good at the cloud section of the class.
I mean, if we were to go into the detailed science of this, that would take hours.
Okay.
But you don't remember any of it? That hurts my feelings. What does air do? I'm going to give you a hint.
Air goes up, right?
No, I'm talking about the temp. I shouldn't. Improperly stated. My question. What does the temperature of air do as you go up?
It gets higher. No, colder.
Colder.
It gets colder. I knew
Okay.
that. Yes.
It's very stratified, like layers of a cake.
Yes.
So, temperatures generally drop about 4 or 5 degrees for every 1,000 feet you go up. So what if there's moisture on the bottom of the surface of the earth, the bottom of the atmosphere, and that goes up?
So
It's slowly cooling. Every 1,000 feet it goes up. It's cooling. It's cooling. It's cooling until it condenses. But it condenses at a certain stratified level because the air is very stratified, meaning if it's 80 down here, it's then 75, 70, 65, 60, until it condenses and makes a cloud. And it's only going to make it at that level when the temperature reaches the dew point. And boom, all of a sudden you have condensation. And that's why they're flat at the bottom. That's where condensation first occurs. But the air keeps rising and it turns into the puffy top until it evaporates away. Do you remember all that?
No. I remember the names.
We can get into the dry adiabatic lapse rate. That's 5.5 degrees per 1,000 feet. There's a wet adiabatic lapse rate. There's an environmental lapse rate. You can look all that up. But that's basically why flat bottom, condensation level, air is stratified. She let me down a little bit. She was a great student, but it was 3-4 years ago.
It was.
We're going to have another lesson later on, all right?
Okay, good.
And we're going to do the whole thing all over again.
Okay, I'll know next.
Charts, skew T diagrams, it's going to be great. Keep the questions coming. Remember what you have to do. Weather@WNEP.com. We get you on the lightning round. Do we have time for one more?
Yeah.
Oh, good. This is a quick one. No, this is a silly one. You're going to like this.
Okay.
This is for our producer. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Read that.
Would you kindly refrain from having music play on Cloud Ground episodes because it's hard to hear what Anthony Bordenero and Ali Gallo and Kurt Aaron and Joe Snedeker are trying to explain? Love that you are doing. Keep it up. Be safe and hydrate.
Carolyn Gorgoski. She doesn't want the music playing in the background. That's where our producer Bill. You hear her? She's speaking to you, brother, okay? It's not always about weather. Thanks, Lindsay. That was an easy one, right?
That was an easy one.
Just tell Bill to shut off the music.
Bill, shut off the music!
And keep the questions coming. Weather@WNEP.com. Lightning round. All right, great questions. Keep them coming, and we'll keep using Lindsay. She likes this stuff. She's a student at heart. All right, you ever see light effects in the sky, arcs, colors, rainbows in the cirrus clouds? Yeah, well, Jeremy's here to talk about how they form and what the deal is with these strange objects. Let me give you a hint. It has to do with ice. Coming up next, stick around. Welcome back to Cloud Around. Joe Snedeker here at Lackawanna State Park. And look at real kayakers in the background there, right? Enjoying the day. Next week on the bike ride, I may be in the water like George Washington, crossing the Delaware. See what that's all about next week on Gojo 29. But we're here to talk about lighting effects in the sky from cirrus clouds. Jeremy, take it away, brother.
Every week, the weather tells a story, and sometimes the best way to see that story is through your eyes. Welcome back to This Week in Weather, where your photos help us tell the story of the skies above. We take a look back at the past with photos sent in by viewers just like you, right here on the Plus. And this time, something remarkable happened. 7 different viewers sent in photos of the very same sky phenomenon from all over the area, even visible from outside of our viewing area. So we're going to get started with this first photo that came in from Zion Grove, right around here. This was from Tammy. Thank you, Tammy, for sending in this one from the Skook. At first glance, it looks like a colorful rainbow there, right? Streaked strangely across the sky. But what you're actually seeing here is something much more unusual. It's a circumhorizontal arc. Now notice that this brilliant band of color stretching nearly parallel to the horizon isn't a rainbow. The colors are vivid and rainbow-like, but despite the nickname fire rainbow, which is what some people call it, this is not a rainbow at all. There's no rain involved. Instead, this display is created by sunlight passing through millions of tiny ice crystals high in cirrus clouds. Now let's take a look at another photo. This one is from Joe in Huguenot, New York, believe it or not. Thank you, Joe, for tuning in over the border from PA in New York State. We appreciate that you tune in and still send us pictures. This is a fabulous capture, Joe. Circumhorizontal arcs form when sunlight enters the flat faces of plate-shaped ice crystals and exit through their sides. Now the crystals have to be oriented just right, almost like countless tiny prisms floating in the upper atmosphere. When everything lines up perfectly, the light spreads into its individual colors, creating this striking spectrum. Now this picture is from Terry. She's technically out of our viewing area too, in Wind Gap. Here's the picture from Terry. This is a good one as well. Thank you for sending this one in from Northampton County. Now in Terry's image, you can see how those colors appear right within the cirrus cloud layer rather than in a curved arc like a traditional rainbow that you would see opposite sunlight. Now this is another clue, obviously, that it isn't a true rainbow. Now remember, rainbows are produced by water droplets, while circumhorizontal arcs are produced by ice crystals, more than 5 miles above our heads. Now here's a photo just a little bit further to the south in Quakertown. Get a load of this, again, outside of our viewing area in Bucks County. But Peter, you're watching, and we appreciate you too. One of the reasons that these displays are relatively uncommon is that the sun has to be very high in the sky. In fact, the sun must be at least 58 degrees above the horizon before a circumhorizontal arc can form, peaking in intensity when the sun is 68 degrees above the horizon. Now, if the sun isn't high enough, the geometry just doesn't work. The sun's path across the sky does get higher in altitude as we approach the summer solstice. Now, here in Scranton, the sun is only high enough in the sky from mid-May through late July. That's when you can see circumhorizontal arcs. Otherwise, you can't, because Scranton sits at a latitude of approximately 41 degrees north. The sun reaches a peak altitude of 72 degrees at that summer solstice, easily clearing the 58-degree threshold required for this phenomenon to occur. But they're impossible to see here between August and April when the sun is below 58 degrees at its highest point. Now let's head over to this picture from a viewer in Seltzer. He or she did not include their name, but we still got the picture of the circumhorizontal arc. Thank you for sending this one in from Schuylkill County. Now the viewer asks, today's rainbow, ? Not quite. I guess it is technically an ice bow, since the ice is refracting the light, but that's also not a scientific term. So we can't technically call it an ice bow. It is called a circumhorizontal arc. All right, now here's a picture from Muncie. This one came in from Lori. So let me head over to Muncie here. Should be here. Lori, great picture. Thank you for sending this one. And you call it, and I love your title too, Glimpse of Cheer in the Afternoon Sky. It truly is a glimpse of cheer. Thanks for sending this picture in. Now, latitude matters. The further north you go, the fewer opportunities there are for the sun to reach the necessary height. Across the southern states, down in the Gulf and into Texas, the sun has a higher altitude in the sky for a longer period of the year. That's because it's closer to the equator. So these displays can occur several times each year as long as it's cold enough high in the atmosphere to have clouds with ice crystals. The farther north you go, the rarer these events become. Now, past 55 degrees north, most of Canada, Alaska, Scotland, Russia, these are all places that they're impossible to see because the sun never gets above 58 degrees north there. And finally, I have to show you this spectacular shot from Heather from Saylorsburg. So let's head over to Monroe County right in here. Thanks, Heather, for sending this picture in. You can really notice here how the circumhorizontal arc can only appear if the cloud with ice crystals is present exactly in the right place. See how there's no arc where there is no cloud? Heather titles this one Fire Rainbow. The nickname Fire Rainbow has become popular because of the vivid flame-like colors, but meteorologists and atmospheric scientists prefer the proper name, as I said many times before, circumhorizontal arc. What a treat to have 7 different views of the same phenomenon. It takes high cirrus clouds, properly aligned ice crystals, and a sun high enough in the sky for all of the pieces to come together. And when they do, the result is one of the atmosphere's most colorful and beautiful displays, a circumhorizontal arc, or as it's commonly known, a fire rainbow. Seeing where these photos came from really did bring a smile to my face because some of these images that I just showed you were sent in from well beyond our viewing area, from people who chose to spend part of your day with us, even though we're not your local station. We never take that for granted. Whether you're watching right here from our viewing area in Lycoming County, Monroe County, Schuylkill County, or miles away in Quakertown, or even over the border in Huguenot, New York, we thank you for your loyalty. And thank you for sharing a little piece of your sky with us. That's a look back at This Week in Weather, captured through your lens in moments, colors, and skies right from where you are. Keep those photos coming because you never know, you might see your snapshot featured right here next week. I can't wait to see what you send in. I'm Jeremy Lewan.
Hey, thanks, Jeremy. Now looking up here now, I see cirrus clouds, but no arcs. It takes the right crystal and, of course, sun angle. You don't always get that. All right, did you learn something today? Thanks for tuning in. I want to remind everyone, next week on Gojo 29, make sure you join us. I'll be starting out in Philly, biking through the viewing area, meet the whole crew raising money for St. Joe's, and ending up at the festival and telethon, which is next Friday. Come on, it's a big deal. It's a big week. Admit it, right? The kayakers are just about done. The sun is out. I got to get biking. Join us every week for Cloud to Ground. Peace, love, and happiness. It's a great day to be alive.